You are listening to the Way of the Shaman podcast with your host, Kerri Husman. The content shared in the Way of the Shaman podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute professional or therapeutic advice. The views expressed by the host and interviewees reflect their personal experiences and opinions. Please consult with an appropriate licensed professional if you have any medical, psychological, or legal concerns.
Hello, and welcome to the Way of the Shaman podcast. I'm your host, Kerri Husman, and today Bob Ulicny is joining us from Windsor, Ontario, Canada. We'll be talking about his journey and learning more about his experiences with core shamanism, as well as discussing the workshop, Shamanism, Dying, and Beyond. Welcome, Bob.
Thanks for having me, Kerri. It's wonderful to be here.
So glad you could join us. So right off the bat, I'd love to learn more about how Michael Harner's work and core shamanism found you.
Oh, it's a very good question. I was seeing an energy healer. Her name was Roxanne. Wonderful, wonderful lady. She's passed now. Anyways, over the course of our friendship, she'd talked to me. She says, you're a healer. You should really pursue this and find a path that's comfortable for you. So as you do, searching on the internet, reading different things, falling down rabbit holes, I'd come across shamanism. I don't remember exactly whether it was the foundation, but reading about shamanism, and it really triggered something deep inside of me, brought me back to childhood of being out camping, talking to the trees, the rocks, the animals, just loved being immersed in that environment. And to me, it was always natural that you could connect with these things. These spirits, I guess, now that I know, to use the proper name. I just knew instinctively as a child, though, and feeling, oh gosh, just feel so much, feeling being around people, emotions, and just this depth and this energy, which, I don't know if you want, we'll get into that later, I guess. But anyways, getting back to the story, reading about shamanism and hearing them describe this connection with all things, everything's alive. It was just this moment, the clouds parted of, oh my gosh, I've always known that. But as we grow up, we're supposed to forget these things. Fairy tales are for children. Ghost stories are make-believe. You can't talk to animals. All these trainings that are given to us by as we grow into adulthood. But inside, I always knew. I just learned to shut up about it and not talk about it. But always knowing, for me, it was the truth. Anyways, reading about shamanism, the connection, shaman. This is what shaman do. I just knew this was for me. So of course, the next step, how do I learn more about this, or where can I learn more about this?
Sure.
At the time, Glenn Campbell, who's retired now, wonderful man.
Agreed.
Wonderful teacher. Well, yeah. I was lucky enough, I guess, I don't know, one of life's little miracles, synchronicities, happened to be teaching in my Windsor in a month's time. Immediately signed up for it. I got to do this. This is amazing. I got to learn more about this. Again, just a bit of a leap of faith, I guess, too, at the time. But anyways, I'd gone back, visited Roxanne for another appointment, and she was so excited. She met me right at her front door, and she's like, I know what you got to do. I found the perfect thing for you. And without even talking to each other, or her even knowing I was reading about shamanism, she had this pamphlet of Glenn's workshop, the exact same one I signed up for. So it was like, oh, this is so meant to be. This is where I belong. And it was just from there. I'll be 100% honest. I mean, I was open-minded, skeptical, a little nervous in that first workshop, but the work itself, that first journey to non-ordinary reality just changed everything. That I could connect directly with spirit, and then, you know, learning more of how we connect with the animal spirits, the shamanic worldview that everything is alive, is that classic coming home feeling people talk about. And it was wonderful. It really was.
Thank you for sharing, Bob. It really sounds like, you know, that very early on you knew everything was alive. You had that experience. I'm guessing here that the rocks and trees you were talking to and the animals you were talking to were talking back, right? They were connecting with you in at some level that maybe others couldn't discern or appreciate or understand. And then
Yeah.
to find out later that there's a methodology to this, that you can really understand how to
Yeah.
connect with them here in the middle world as you were as a child, and then in the compassionate realms.
Yeah.
Beautiful. That's terrific.
Another, for me, it's something I still work on, but through shamanism is really, especially for a male, and I mean, it's not a cop-out, but it's fact that we're taught to stuff our emotions.
Hmm.
And my whole life, I always struggled with, and it led to other issues in my life, but this emotional component of connecting with things, but to see an injured animal, an animal killed on the road, just being emotional, feeling, being alive. And again, you know, growing up, and I'm not, you know, blaming, but just the way things go of classmates, peers, teachers, a big brother, a big sister. Oh, Bobby's the sensitive one. Bobby's the little baby Bobby cries all the time. And so again, it's that process of this isn't acceptable, and finding little tricks to not express your emotion, even though you're dying inside with just such sadness or emotion. And learning, you know, anger and laughter are the only two things that are allowed in life. So again, finding shamanism, the crying healer, that we cry at the joy, the beauty, the wonder of healing someone,
Hmm.
of connecting with spirit and the beautiful things we see and experience, the sorrow of clients coming in that desperately need help, and just being able to share all that and feel all that, and it's accepted and celebrated, you know, crying in the workshops, laughing, you know, till your sides hurt in workshops, that full range of emotion was just a wonderful, again, coming home to, you know, I'm not the one that something's wrong. You know, I'm not overly sensitive. I'm fully alive and human. And that's just such a freedom to be able to be me.
Beautiful, Bob. I couldn't have said it better myself. That is so important. And yes, being the one who cries easily, you know, coming from a family of criers, my whole family's quite sensitive. So I know what that was like. They couldn't really console me as a child. And, you know, I was
Yeah.
connecting with my deceased ancestors. I grew up in the bedroom my grandpa died in. And, you know, I had a relationship with him my whole life growing up.
Right.
And even though other people would have thought that doesn't make any sense. So,
Yeah. Yeah. You know that to be true. I mean, you
mhm.
have direct experience, but again, it's this, I don't even know where it comes from, but so many people are just, I don't know if it's a fear base, but they just shut it down of, nope, that's not real. No, it's all make believe. No. And you're like, but I am talking with this person. We're communicating. We're having this relationship. I don't understand why you can so confidently say, no, it's make-believe.
Right.
You know?
Especially when it's so potentially supportive, powerful, helpful, nurturing, all the
Yeah,
things. Yeah.
yeah.
So while you had these experiences as a child, and then you got into your career path of being a paramedic, and then you were a paramedic for quite a while before you found core shamanism.
Mhm.
How did that potentially change or support or make more complicated your work as a paramedic? Or all the above?
Yeah, that's a whole a whole progression of again, touching on this. Oh, he's the sensitive one. My Mrs. Hall across the street always called me Bobby. I can't believe you're doing that job. You're so sensitive. She was just amazed that I was even pursuing it. But to start working, especially it was 1987, 1988 when I started, very much that macho, straight face, nothing bothers you. If you can't handle it, go drinking or quit was, kind of the
Mm-hmm.
two methods of help. Stuff it away and keep moving. Which funny enough, I was well versed at. I had learned many coping mechanisms. I call my little tricks of even if you want to feel anything, how to numb. I got really good at numbing, shutting things down.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was a badge of courage. I thought it was nobody can tell, nobody can see that I'm dying inside. Therefore I have succeeded. I am as good as them, and I will never ever let them know what I'm feeling inside. It made it challenging. It really did. And the way too of over the years, it certainly has evolved. I've grown more confident. It's becoming became more acceptable. But those first few years, you just had to be this rigid, tough.
Mm-hmm.
So holding a patient's hand was like, what's wrong with you? Even just those small kindnesses were frowned on by the senior old guys. But no, I knew it was comforting to the people, and I always pursued for them. But for me, no, it was all about this shutting down, this numbing. So I slowly, it was always directed outwards. Kindness,
Mm-hmm.
compassion, love, all of that was always directed outward. I never got any of that. I never allowed myself to feel. It was all about staying numb, because that was the only way I thought I fit into society or I fit into this culture. I must be defective. I was told growing up I was overly sensitive. I cried too much. I felt too much. All this stuff. I'm the one who's defective. I'm the one who's broken.
Mm.
But look, I can fix. I can act like you. I can pretend to be like you and wear the mask, and none of you will ever know that I'm still dying inside with emotion, or overwhelmed with emotion, I guess would be more accurate. So yeah, I was allowed outwardly to share my compassion and my love, my kindness, as well as obviously the medicine part.
Right, right, of course.
Again, bringing in that unknown connection with spirit. We deal with a lot of death, natural, expected, traumatic, unexpected deaths. Walking into houses or arriving on scene, feeling souls that again, with the dying and beyond, hopefully we'll get into that later, but at the time I didn't know. I just simply didn't know, but I knew I could feel who was still there, whose soul was still there, who was happy they were moving on, that they were out of their body, that they were in transition, that joy. Some had already gone, despite our best efforts, and it was always best efforts. I mean, it never influenced my treatment of the person. But again, just, oh my gosh, if I ever said this out loud, they'd lock me up. You're just too woo-woo. Like, whoa, if I ever said that to the old guys I started with, man. So again, bite your tongue, stuff it away. File it away for, I don't know, someday in the future or something, or maybe it'll stop and I can just be like them, because apparently they're the standard for normal.
So there was an evolution, though, wasn't there?
There really was.
Good.
Sadly, it takes a really rough turn, because numbing, stuffing all of this away became harder and harder. Addiction, alcohol, drugs, that was the easy button for me. Take this, everything shuts off, life is easy. I don't even have to actively work at numbing. I can chemically numb myself, which I thought I'd found the miracle cure.
Sure.
I was free. I just got to exist, like it really did. It's such a funny feeling. I mean, beside the awfulness of what active addiction does to your life, I really felt I'd found the easy button for life. Obviously, temporary solution. Thankfully, my partner at the time recognized that I needed help. Arranged for that. I went off to treatment for addiction. For the remainder of all my days, I'll always be thankful to her for saving my life, because she truly did. I'm coming up on 20 years clean, which is one day's a miracle, let alone to have years of clean time. So then comes my turning point, obviously. Numb is not an option. Numb is obviously not healthy. So what do you do with it now? Because now you don't have that chemical switch to turn everything off.
Right.
Now you have to deal with everything. Here comes years of emotions that you've stuffed away, of memories, of just everything. And at first, honestly, it's like drinking out of a fire hose. You're feeling again. You're alive again. I'm not going back to what I was. I can't stuff it away anymore. I don't want to stuff it away anymore. So what do I do with it?
And you were still working as a paramedic. I mean, you come back from treatment, you're still working as a paramedic, so you're still in the thick of it. You're still in these tragic situations, trying to do the best medicine you can, trying to save these lives. And what did you do with that emotional content? How did you manage it?
With a lot of help, with a lot of kind people. I mean, the obvious, the 12-step programs, to continue working, learning to stay clean, stay away from active addiction. Still brings tears to my eyes. My very first sponsor told me he would believe in me till I learned how to believe in myself.
Wow.
And at first, you just, as you do, you just kind of like, whatever. But yeah, 20 years later, that still brings tears to my eyes of how powerful that was.
Because he meant it. Or she meant it, yeah.
He did, with all his heart. So using that as motivation of, he sees something in me, and he's such a nice guy, I want to show him he's not mistaken, that I'm worthwhile. the psychologist, working with psychologists, learning to express emotions.
Being okay with those tears, right?
Yeah, which is still an ongoing thing, that male thing of like, no, no, no. But they do come more freely. Addressing the traumas I've seen, post-traumatic stress. Again, emotions, right? It's working through the emotions of the things you were exposed to. Freeing those emotions, because stuffing it away just keeps you stuck, keeps that trauma alive in you. When you process it and allow it to go, yes, that was horrible to see. Didn't affect my care or my treatment. I was able to be my very best as a paramedic. But after that, I'm still very much a human who has an emotional response to what we just witnessed.
Right.
Learning that alone was a huge step. You're not this, putting on the uniform didn't make you immune to all of this. And then, that's how I met Roxanne, right? Because as helpful as the psychologist is, working through the trauma, I just always felt something was missing. Another component, another piece of the puzzle. And strangely enough, I don't know, I'm blessed. Maybe, I know it's helping spirits. Reawoken something in me of in college, talking about, good health is defined as, physical, mental, spiritual, the whole thing. And, just one of these weird thoughts that at the time just pops in the back of your head, and you're like, well, I'm missing the spiritual aspect of this recovery, this new life. And raised Catholic, but church wasn't, going to Mass wasn't that direct connection with spirit, I think, or direct connection to something that I was looking for. And again, just, I don't know how my friend found this name, this Roxanne, and I'll go see her. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
And did she offer core shamanism, or did she offer some type of energy healing, like Reiki or healing touch or something like that?
That was always the mystery with Roxanne. I think she was a combination of a bit of Reiki, a bit of healing touch. She was another one, though. Getting to know her over the years. When she was a small child, she remembers playing with power, with energy in her hands. And she was always amazed that the other kids couldn't see the cube of power she was holding in her hands. And, right from that first appointment of, skeptical but open-minded, willing to heal, willing to change, it doesn't matter specifically what she did, but she changed something in me. I know now, looking back, it's power. She filled me with power. I was so devoid of power that just motivated and drove me forward to continue this healing path. Poor Rox. I would just talk like a chattering monkey in a tree. What are you doing? How's this work? What's this? Because, from that first appointment of, how are you doing this? What is this? I wanted to know everything. And I think that's probably what, and telling her, from grade school, as young as I can remember, I've always liked helping people. We'd be playing football and someone would get hurt at recess. I could either take care of them or have the smarts to say, oh, this is too much. We got to get a teacher for this, So there was always that caregiving, and she's like, you have to, do more than the physical medicine, like being a paramedic's great, but there's more in you than that. And again, that making the story come full circle eventually, long-winded, of finding shamanism, and now everything makes sense.
Yeah.
And specifically dying and beyond. As we all do, we start with the way of the shaman, I took extraction, which actually I took the way of the shaman twice because, I wanted to just make sure I wasn't imagining that I'd actually found people that knew.
So you had to work on that, convincing yourself that I wasn't just
Yeah.
making it all up, that
Yeah.
this was real.
Yeah.
And that second round with the way of the shaman really helped you go, okay, yeah, this is something.
Yeah, and really, I can, believe it or not, there's times I can be quite, I hold myself back or like, oh, don't say that. But that second time being in a classroom with Glenn, being able to talk to him, afterwards or just even in class, like, feeling confident enough to ask some more questions and understand this more. And like, oh, this shamanic path this is for me. This is what I know instinctively to be, or it is real. It's not even a belief. It's a knowing, and that other people know this too. Was utterly amazing. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't, making it up because I so desperately wanted to be, But no, very kind, very gentle. I think a great thing Glenn said was, I'm glad you came skeptical with an open mind because you don't want blind faith in anything. You want to understand it and learn it and, not be duped. Have your direct connection with spirit. Have your direct experience that independent spirituality that we talk about so much. But anyway, sorry. The extraction workshop, I don't even know if it was purposeful or if that was just what was next. But anyways, taking extraction, helping people, being able to heal beyond like a power animal retrieval or passing power, to go to that next level of healing someone was a very powerful learning experience. Working merged with a helping spirit was challenging. You're learning your skills to merge and to actually now be active while holding a merge was a challenge.
There's a learning curve there.
Yeah.
It's practice.
But I think my eyes were always on as soon. I think it was Death, Dying and Beyond was what it was called at the time. But Shamanism, Dying and Beyond. As soon as I saw that was even it existed, I was like, that was my goal. I wanted to do whatever it took to get to that workshop, and was not disappointed at all because from morning session of day one, it was like, this explains so much of my life, especially my working life of spirit, process of dying. People have died. Where are these souls? What is going on when I've been with patients who have died on me despite my best efforts, despite doing everything right, they're still leaving.
Right.
That you're the last person they see here on this earth was such a powerful moment to experience, but that it's beyond curiosity. It's where did you go? Where are you now? Where is your soul? Because I can still feel part of you, but I know you want to go. Where are you going? So to be in the Dying and Beyond workshop, to be able not only just to be taught, being taught is great. The knowledge base is great. To actually journey, to go and connect, to see firsthand and experience firsthand what is going on, was both comforting and beautiful is the only other way I can describe it, I think. I was just in awe and comforted. Yeah, comfort was a huge one. Not only for me, as we get older too, mortality becomes less of an intellectual concept and more of a realistic. But that my patients, I'm responsible for my patients. I've always felt that. But that they were comforted, that they were safe, that it wasn't a fearful process for them. They weren't just cast into this unknown realm, and we're terrified.
So you
But
had that knowledge, even though you weren't, proselytizing, you weren't telling them all these things as they're passing in the back of the,
yeah,
ambulance, right?
yeah,
You've got your training, that, that they're going to be going to a peaceful, wonderful, powerfully compassionate place.
right,
You're carrying that knowledge with you as
yeah,
you're working on them,
yeah,
hoping to have a good outcome, but knowing that that's not always the case. So you were able to carry that with you confidently, which is, you know, it's a
yeah,
priceless gift to that
yeah,
person at the very end of their life.
yeah. And I mean, for them, it's nice to know that they were comforted. And for me, I mean, hopefully it doesn't sound selfish, but it didn't feel as bad, that despite our best efforts, they still died, because I knew that their journey was continuing. I mean,
Hmm.
this was their time to transition, and no matter what anybody did,
Right.
this was going to take place, and that they were going to this beautiful place, and these wonderful spirits. And then, after doing this, taking this workshop, learning how to be a psychopomp, being able to check in on them to make sure they did, if they needed help, I was also available.
Hmm.
A funny story, just one I remember in particular, I had done that with. It had been weeks, month. For some reason, I don't know. For me, it's always doing dishes, and my window looks out over my front porch. And I always say it's the light reflecting on the blinds, but it's not. They seem to wait on my front porch when these spirits need some help, when they're having difficulty in middle world. I've learned that trial and error. No, you're making it up. But trusting, yeah, the souls are kind. That's how they get my attention. When I'm doing dishes, they're on the porch, and I can see them. But anyways, this patient had passed, and just for some reason, like I say, it was a month later. Was doing some psychopomp work, and I'm like, I should check on him, just to make sure. He recognized me, which I had never had. I mean, I've never psychopomped anybody I've known, and I mean, he was only my patient for, the 20 minutes, hour kind of thing. But I recognized him, he recognized me, which is kind of a strange thing to have happen in a journey. But we talked about what had happened, and that I'm also a shaman, that I can help him when he's ready to continue on. And he, continue on where? Like he thought he was in heaven, the religious heaven, and
Hmm.
it's like, well, no, there's more if you want. I mean, if you're happy here for now, explore, learn, grow, but it's completely up to you. And I know it kind of goes against what we're taught in the workshop, that we're not there. And he wasn't stalling for time, though. It wasn't anything like that. He just generally wanted to know, needed more information. And he finally decided that no, he had a good look around and met everybody that he wanted to meet, and just didn't know there was more. So off we
Yeah.
went, to where the souls are brought. And yeah, he was very thankful. And as it happens, it was just a really quick goodbye,
Hmm.
thank you, and off he went. And that was my one personal experience with all the years of doing psychopomp work. So I thought that one was a little special. It's always stuck in my memory.
Right. Well, I mean, you were respecting his wishes. He was thinking that this was all there was, right?
Mm,
And you were able to share with him that there was more. When he was ready, he went.
yeah, yeah,
So, yeah, we had a friend who would hunt on our property, and a year or so after his death, he was sitting in our pickup truck, and we were out planting trees, and I walked by the pickup truck and, kind of do that side eye thing, and
Yeah.
okay, um, do you need help? And he comes out of the truck and stands beside me, and I just out, because it was hunting, it was the time of year, right, to set up his deer stands, and he's standing there, and he's like, yeah, I'm good. Well, do you need help? And he's like, oh no, I'm good. I said, well, when you feel you're ready to go, you let me know.
Right.
And I took 3 steps, and then right beside me, I'm ready to go, and proceeded to do the psychopomp work. And time is different for them. Sometimes when you find them, they're still circling the car crash that they departed in 6 years ago, and their spouse has moved on, and they're still looking for their spouse. And how it's experienced by them is something we can't fully appreciate because we're in these human bodies. But you're right.
Yeah.
You're respecting where they are at in their process, and when they're ready to go, you can provide that assistance, which is absolutely priceless and beautiful.
Very much so, and even that is a beautiful part of the work, that you're there to assist. You're not there to be tour guide. You're not there to argue world religion, belief systems, anything of that. If you're ready, I'm here to help.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, yeah, and I like that approach to it, because it's just a beautiful process, and it's amazing too to when you get to them, they know. For the most part, yeah, they're ready. They know where they want to go, or they're not. It's a very brief, no, this is fine. You're like, well, that's fair. If you change your mind or when you become ready, let me know. I'll be back. I try to do this often, so if you do see me or another shaman, ask them for some help, and we'll help you out.
That's right.
The sad part, inversely, though, is how much, you learn in the workshop, this is generations or millennia of certainly a couple hundred years of this work being neglected, with the lack of shaman, lack of psychopomp work being done. How much of a backlog, how many souls need help, that, there's suffering beings, they're ready to move on, but there's just not enough, as much work as we're trying to do and help these souls move on, there's just such, you're trying to play catch up all the time.
Right.
That was a revelation to find that out. But again, being taught that in the workshop, during lecture, and then to journey and see it firsthand, you're like, oh gosh, he wasn't just telling us this, to encourage us to do this work. It's real. It's quite amazing.
And that's why some shamanic practitioners, this is all they do. They're not really working with the living. They're only working with the deceased, because there's so much work to be done. And
Yeah.
many people just do this as a part of giving back to the planet, giving back to the world. And the practitioner is doing this on their own time because it's that important. So I'm glad that your stoop somehow has the light shining for them to know that they
Right.
can find you. So
Right.
that's wonderful. So if I can, I'd like to shift gears for a moment and talk a little bit about your own cultural heritage,
Okay.
or disconnect in the case that you've described. So can you tell us a little bit about your cultural heritage and how core shamanism has fit into a place where you didn't have connection? Can you tell that story?
I never, my grandfather, my mother's father, again, you got to go back in time. This is what would that be, 1920s, is when he would be born, roughly. The mystery of him is, family legend is that he's from the Western Plains of the United States. I don't know if that, possibly Oglala Sioux, Lakota, I've heard. To me, I mean, meeting him a few times and seeing pictures of him, he's definitely has the presentation, the genes, the structure of full-blooded Indian, Aboriginal. Anyways, there's just, I mean, there's no documentation. I mean, I think because of the time and that he was Indian, there was no birth records. It's the mystery, to use a phrase. Great-grandfather would never talk about it. My mom never got any answers. Even my grandfather himself, you know, he knew he looked different, was told he was adopted, doesn't know how he got from somewhere, the Dakotas maybe, to London, Ontario, Canada. How that whole adoption process happened. There was no documentation of that. So was it a church thing that he was taken? He really didn't get, as far as I understand it, didn't get full documentation till he became a Canadian soldier for World War II. They kind of created him.
They put something on paper.
Yeah. Other than that, there was no like legal. Again, this is as far as I know, the family mystery. People have pieces and parts, and is it true, isn't it? All I know is like looking at him, it's like, yeah. I mean, he's not your typical European white male kind of thing. So, and it's funny, I mean, my mom tells me stories of growing up. I mean, grade school was called half-breed was the slur at the time. It was something to be ashamed of. And as we know, the residential schools were flourishing, sadly, during that time of, beat the Indian out of them. So it was something to be hidden. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I mean, I have not done yet 23andMe, but now, I mean, talking about this really makes me more curious of maybe I should. I've thought about it off and on, I just never have. And the other side is, I mean, part of it doing this work, I think, it just feels natural, like it comes from somewhere. I feel connected to more than just nature. Like there's ancestors, spirits, involved in this. I haven't had a meeting with them yet, but I know they're there. Just this knowing. I'm guessing the lineage on my grandfather's side. And funny enough, I don't know. I think I look European. We were saying earlier, looking in the camera here, I look like my dad, who is a Slovak. My grandparent on his side, my grandparents were Slovaks, right from Europe, and that's what I see in my face. But yet, you know, I'll be talking, especially at work. People will come up to me and say, you know, are you, you know, in our area, you know, Walpole Nation, the Caldwell, not our, you know, are you an Indian? Are you part Indian? And I'm like, even then, I mean, I shouldn't laugh, but depending on the time and who I'm talking to, sometimes it's just a simple no. Sometimes I'll get into the whole story, you know. Because some people are just looking for that quick yes or no. But yeah, I'm a little reticent to talk about it because, again, there's no documentation, there's no proof, and I don't want to be accused of pretending a lineage that I'm not sure that I have. But certainly others, especially other Aboriginal people or Indigenous people, see something in me, and they're the ones who really want to know the history. They get involved in wanting to know, you know, what nation am I from? Who are my people? And those are the ones that very respectfully, you know, I just say, you know, I give them the whole story of, chances are I am, but I don't want to take away from the respect you've earned, you know, the respect you deserve by pretending or improperly saying that I am.
Right.
So I kind of leave it at that. And they're very thankful, you know, with my very open and honest approach to it. But they're firmly convinced. They see something in me that maybe I don't even see in myself, because they come right up to me and ask me, you know, especially seeing me as a paramedic. I don't know, you know, one of them is working as a paramedic. I don't know how else to describe it. There's that attraction there, and they're always very open and very friendly, very kind, which I appreciate and love talking. As you can tell, I talk too much.
Not at all. So the good thing is that core shamanism brought pieces in for you that were not able to be explored within your family lineage, discussed within your family lineage, that had just been shut down by all the circumstances and things that happened. And you were able to then really utilize core shamanism to build your independent spiritual practice. And over time, because you're always learning with this work, there's not a stopping point,
Right.
that you'll be building out those connections and building that community spiritually as time goes on.
Very much so. Very much
Wonderful.
so.
So how do you approach questions about appropriation and even appreciation when you're teaching students, whether they have First Nations ancestry or not, but maybe asking questions about that? How do you field that when people are talking about core shamanism specifically?
Well, obviously, you know, it can be a very sensitive topic. It's understanding what the person wants. Some people are just looking for a tacit approval of, you know, a quick yes or no that we don't appropriate, to check that box, to assuage their guilt or something, or just to check in and make sure we're not taking from other people. And that's fine. As long as what I'm interested in is that people are open and willing to talk about it. And if all you want is no, core shamanism is a universal, near universal method of teaching shamanic methods that every shaman worldwide does, you know, a journey, a way of powering themselves up. You know, so we're not taking from any one specific culture or any specific culture. The interesting ones, yeah, talking, you know, if you're talking to an indigenous person or somebody who wants more information on it. And again, you know, as long as they're open-minded and we can have a back and forth discussion, it becomes, you know, explaining, back again, you know, what core shamanism is, that we don't take from any specific person, that we're very respectful of that. And, you know, you can even get into the, you know, the foundation's study and preservation of knowledge of indigenous people, that we're an ally to them in recording their traditions. I mean, some want to go the next, you know, well, you know, you're the plastic shaman, or the neo-shaman seems to be the catchphrases nowadays. And we're not. We're honoring the oh gosh, what?
Keepers
30,
of the knowledge.
Yeah, 30, 40,000, 50,000 years of shamanic, that shaman were global, you know, what we would call Europe now, you know, Asia, every continent of the earth had shaman. So we're not, shamanic healing is about direct connection with spirit, not about cultural ways. I mean, that's adding the flavor to it of you know, a specific tribe or specific peoples having their own ways or their own words, seasoning. But at the core of it is, are you having a direct connection with spirit? Are you bringing back healing for people, for the world? You know, do your methods work? That's the core of shamanism. And you know, sometimes you even got to go as far as, you know, well, would a Cree shaman be appropriating from a Peruvian shaman? And they're like, well, of course not. And it's like, well, why is that not cultural appropriation? And you know, they're kind of like, oh, now I kind of understand that they're both healers, just they have their own cultural ways of doing it, you know, specific to them.
That's right. And that medicine is their medicine, right? You know,
Yeah.
taking from someone else's medicine and making it your own would potentially not have the power.
Yeah. And I mean, as much as I understand, shaman are very, very interested in other shaman, you know, different cultures of how how they work, you know, but again, the commonalities of, oh, that's how you journey. I journey too, you know, that's how you shift consciousness, you know, you use a jam, I use my sticks, you know, like it's we all support each other, not steal from each other.
Exactly.
And again, it's really about having that open-minded conversation with them of, I'm not preaching to them, I'm not stating what's fact, I'm just allowing them, bringing the information to them. And, you know, if they're willing and open-minded enough to listen, then you can have a true dialogue about it.
Absolutely. So I'd like to ask a question about how you describe Psychopomp to those who are maybe fearful of middle world spirits, you know, from their religious exposure, from maybe exposure to magic, or they've been, you know, sort of told something that has made them fearful about working in the middle world. What would you say to a student who's learned a little bit to be scared versus
Right.
what happens in Psychopomp? How would you answer that question?
That actually does. I've had a few students that, you know, this very issue, you know, oh, I want to take your next workshop, but yeah, I don't want to do that. I really think it starts in the basic, the way of the shaman workshop of how do you, I mean, because we do talk about middle world, the ordinary and the non-ordinary component of it. And nothing against Glenn, but I think it was of that time of, you know, oh, you have to be careful in middle world, you have to be protected, you have to have a helping spirit with you. We've kind of gotten away from that, thankfully, that you are powerful, you are well protected. So yeah, anyways, I mean, my thought is it starts with that of don't start or hint at, because there's nothing to be afraid of in middle world. So why would you even bring that up as a thing? But now the other aspect is, yeah, the Hollywood influence or the again, reading fairy tales, you know, evil spirits. It couldn't even be a religious background, which is fair. Where, you know, wherever their knowledge has come from or wherever these fears have come from is explaining to them, you know, like in the basic, you've met with helping spirits, you have a power animal, you are connected to power, you are well protected. Not only that, as a teacher, as instructor, you have the power of the circle that we've opened up, the helping spirits that we've called in. My power animals are here. You have layer and layer and layer of protection. Beyond that, I mean, Journey in Middle World, like all our workshops, it's the step-by-step, I mean, starting with knowledge, but then, you know, step-by-step practical experience of firsthand being there, knowing middle world is a safe place to journey. Yes, there's certain cautions or things to not get yourself entwined with. But that's life. You don't stick your nose into things where you don't belong sometimes, you know? There might be a spirit, an ethnocentric spirit, and just they're not going to bother you. Just don't go poking the bear. You know, your work is over here. So I mean, a bit of a sense of humor too helps them, but just really focusing on you're well protected. You have your own power, your own protection. You have the circle's protection, my helping spirits. I mean, we're all in this together.
And you've worked to build power during the
Yeah,
class as well. As you're starting to
yeah,
those initiations and learning those techniques, you've worked to build power as well. So
yeah,
step by step, you're growing in
yeah. And
capacity.
you know, I mean, we use the word power a lot, but you know, in the other sense of it's empowering or filling that student with knowledge and empowering them to they might still have some fear, but they're confident enough to go and directly confront it and go, oh, this isn't a fearful place. This is a healing place as well. You know, it's not something, you know, the Exorcist movie, you know,
Right.
seems to come up a lot, you know, that
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood influence of demons and things like that. And you're like, no, let's go journey and you'll see it's a beautiful place as well.
Absolutely.
There is suffering beings there, and this is where shaman are being called to help.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's are they willing to listen, or are they set that no way, I'm not going there? And so you just explain, you know, maybe right now this work isn't for you, but you know, if you're interested in the workshop, please come. You know, we can help you. It's a beautiful place, but if you're in a place of fear and you're thinking it's not for you, that's fair too. You know, maybe revisit in the future. Other healing work is probably something you're better suited for. You know, and that's fine too. We all have our place, like you know you were saying earlier. Whether it's you know, some people work with animal spirits. Some people, you know, we all kind of have our own area that we enjoy focusing on. I met in the 2-week program. There was one. Oh my gosh, she was so sharp. But plants, she was so good with plants, talking with plants, finding plants, what they did, how they helped. And I mean, she, not that she was fearful, just was not interested in doing the dying and beyond work. Plants were her calling, and she was wonderful at it. So why would you not, you know, specialize or focus your attention on that? And you know, celebrate our differences. We all come together in a community with our different strengths.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, as we're wrapping up here, Bob, any stories that you would like to share from the 3-year or 2-week or other workshops that really were rather miraculous for you, really shifted things for you in a way, you know, kind of like your experience with, you know, your very, very grounding and powerful experience with Glenn as an instructor, or your very first sponsor. You know, you've had some really powerful influencing people in your life that have assisted you. But anything from like the 3-year or 2-week that really helped you?
They're both, the 2-week was a huge step for me. Some wonderful experiences there. The 3-year program though is the memory, geez, I still feel like I'm there sometimes. There's an exercise in the 3-year, and I promise I won't give it away, because we want, you know, obviously we're taught, we want you to have the same experience I was able to have, that process of discovery on your own. Let me just say there's an exercise you do. I was merged, and I was sharing my experience out loud at the time. In the building room, it's big. I mean, it's a big class. But as I merged with this helping spirit, I mean, I thought I knew how to merge. You know, I got this down. You know, I got some good merges. My helping spirits, you know, working well with me in that. This was completely next level. I finally, I guess, understood or improved my ability to merge. I don't know how you would describe it, but this one just, yeah, next level. Sharing my story, and the building, first the roof went, and I'm under the stars, and I can see we're in the desert, the high desert, Arizona, New Mexico, the Grand Canyon kind of area. Absolutely beautiful. But I mean, you're merged, so I mean, you're still aware. But I'm having this experience, and then the building disappears, and it's still me talking to the class, but we're all out in the desert, under the night sky, this beautiful, beautiful night sky. But I have the awareness that I can hear my voice talking, continuing to tell the story, but I also became now part of the audience of listening, me helping spirit tell this story, looking at this beautiful landscape, you know, and that small part of your brain going, what is going on here? You know, it was so beautiful. It wasn't fearful at all. There was no anxiety. It was just this beautiful moment. But to be both involved in it and have that ability to watch as an observer at the same time,
Yeah.
was absolutely mind blowing. But still, where did the building go? How did we all get to the desert? Anyways, we're done. I mean, you disengage from your merge, you ground yourself, which in this case was quite a lengthy process because I didn't want to let go. You know, it was just such this overwhelming experience. And then, yeah, as it turns out, we had a bit of a break after it was my turn there. Nobody was talking to me outside, and I'm like, you know, I don't know, my insecurity, did I do something wrong? Did I say something wrong? Nobody was talking to me because they didn't know what happened because they had this magical, I shouldn't say magical, they had the same experience of me of they were all transported into this landscape. So nobody knew what to say. Nobody knew. Because, you know, again, that little bit of, you're open-minded and you know this works. But there's still that logical brain that gets in there and goes, did I just see that? Did I just experience that? And you're like, oh no, I didn't drink enough water today. I must be overtired. You know, you're looking for something to logically grasp onto. And like, no, we all had this, united together, we had this wonderful spiritual experience that we shared in. And
Everyone was in awe.
yeah. It's funny learning to accept when you go through these processes or these experiences of. Because I'll be honest, it's taken me years to fully. I don't even know if I'm there yet, but to process it, to accept it, of. You know, what was that? Yeah, I've stopped trying to use logic because there's no explanation logically, nor should there be. You know, to find words for it is tough. You know, how do you describe that experience? And oh my gosh, the depth of emotion and power. I don't know what percentage you'd call like that merge, but like I say, it was that next level of, again, part of the beauty of this work, right? Of you think you know, or you think you're aware, or you think you're at a certain level, and they're like, oh, no, we're taking you next level. We're giving you that next layer. And you're like, what? I thought I got this down, you know? So, yeah, that was a moment too. As beautiful it was, I was like, oh, I gotta up my game. There's so much more to understand about this work.
That is so true. Just when you think that you understand what it feels like to receive a soul retrieval, for example, and then you have one that comes with more power than you really feel like you've ever encountered at the time of a soul retrieval. And you're like, oh, this is the level of possibility?
Yeah.
And then you're like, probably it's even beyond that.
Yeah.
You know, as you grow and as you're building your skills and capacity to hold more power, building those relationships with the compassionate helping spirits so that more power can be passed to support that healing outcome.
Mm-hmm.
So, beautiful. Well, to wrap up, thank you so much, Bob, for joining us. Bob, we're so glad that you teach in Windsor, Ontario, right across the river from Detroit and the border and all of that.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
which isn't that hard.
yeah.
Been there, done that. So we'll be in touch. But thanks so much for joining us today, Bob.
Thank you, Kerri. I really appreciate being here and spending time with you and getting to share my stories. I apologize if I rambled on, but as you can tell, or hope you can tell, I'm very passionate about this work and would love to share it with others. So, please come and join us.
Yeah.
Experience it for yourself.
And I know firsthand you do phenomenal work.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
You bet. Take care.
You too. Thanks.